This meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order. Today marks the Senate Judiciary Committee's first oversight hearing of the 118th Congress. Last Congress, we held more than a dozen oversight hearings and honored the committee's historic constitutional responsibility to provide oversight to the agencies of our government. It is this responsibility under Article 1 of the Constitution that serves as a check and balance on the executive branch, whether the president happens to be Republican or Democrat. Attorney General Garland, welcome. This is the third time you've appeared before this committee. You have many pressing responsibilities, I should say as Attorney General. You have many pressing responsibilities, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. There's so many subjects under your jurisdiction worthy of close examination, which I'll turn to a few in a moment. But we shouldn't take for granted that we now have a Department of Justice with a renewed dedication. When you were sworn into office 2 years ago, the department was embroiled in scandal. You committed to restoring its independence, and I believe you've kept your word. I expect that we'll hear accusations today from some of my Republican colleagues to the contrary, such as weaponization of the Justice Department. The reality is you've recommitted the department to serving the American people and not the personal interests of any one political figure. You've taken the appropriate steps to ensure that investigations are not overshadowed by politics. You have not interfered with the investigation of the president's son by the U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, a holdover who was appointed by President Trump. You have not interfered with the special counsel investigation initiated by Attorney General Barr into the origin of the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign ties to Russia. And most recently, you've appointed 2 special counsels to investigate any potential mishandling of classified documents in the possession of former President Trump or President Biden. Unfortunately, too many of my colleagues have turned a blind eye to the actual weaponization of the Justice Department during previous administrations. Take one example. President Trump and his allies attempted to co-opt the department into overturning the results of the 2020 election, a relentless campaign that this committee exhaustively documented in Subverting Justice, a 394-page report. But your actions in the last 2 years should reassure the American people that the Justice Department should not and does not operate as the servant of any president. The Justice Department has important constitutional responsibilities. It must protect the civil rights of the vulnerable. It must respond to threats to our nation, both domestic and international. It must hold accountable those who violate the laws passed by Congress. We have discussed before, and I will certainly hear again today, some issues of critical importance to the American people. More than 6,800 Americans have died from gunfire in the first 2 months of this year. There have been at least 94 mass shootings, more than one every single day this year in America. I look forward to hearing how the department is using new tools that Congress approved in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to quell this violence. In March 2021, FBI Director Wray testified under oath before this committee that the threat of domestic terrorism is metastasizing throughout this country. I look forward to hearing your response to that extremist threat. We'll discuss the importance of full implementation of the Bipartisan First Step Act, which is showing meaningful progress in responsibly reducing recidivism and making our criminal justice system fairer. And we'll discuss the importance of preserving America's civil rights and protecting them from attacks on their bodily autonomy, especially after the Supreme Court Dobbs decision. The sunset of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act this year provides an opportunity to implement much-needed reforms to keep America both safe and free. And the department must continue to hold steadfast to the principles of equity and access, despite resistance from those who are threatened by an even playing field. As more citizens face greater impediments to exercising their constitutional right to vote, and there's an increase in incidents of hate violence, the department must defend America's bedrock values. At this point, I turn to my colleague and the ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Graham.